What's better, Sprouts or Whole Foods? In this video, I'm going to show you my Sprouts grocery haul, and I'm going to show you when and where I think things are better at Sprouts versus Whole Foods. At the end of the video, I'll give you a little bit of a verdict where I would go, Sprouts versus Whole Foods. But in general, I think both of them have a lot of good stuff. Let's get in there and let me show you how to eat animal-based or just food for humans. There's a very exciting thing at Sprouts now that I want to show you that you've probably never seen here before. So come on, let's do a little grocery haul at Sprouts. I'll show you how I'm shopping while I'm here in Austin. I am gatekeeping nothing, guys. I'm going to give you all my secrets. I'm going to tell you all the little things about how I think about food in here that I think are really going to be helpful for you. So let's get started. When I come to the grocery store, the first thing I'm thinking about is meat. Sprouts labels it really clearly. They have grass-fed beef, and they say it's 100% grass-fed. When you go to Whole Foods, this is one thing I don't like about Whole Foods. They have pasture-raised and grass-fed. And pasture-raised sounds like it's grass-fed, but it's not. Pasture-raised is grain-finished. Grain-finished tastes better, Paul. Well, maybe. I'll give you that. But what are the grains that the cow's eating, adding to the cow's diet, right? So grains are sprayed with pesticides. They have other potential mold contaminants. If you look at cows eating grains versus cows eating grass their whole life, grass-fed cows have higher nutrients. They're more nutritious. They have lower levels of toxins across the board, everything from PFAs to microplastics when a cow is eating grass its whole life. No surprise that eating processed grains, which are filled with pesticides and mold, makes the meat less quality. So I just look for very high quality grass-fed beef. If you can find a Wagyu grass-fed beef, great. If not, that's okay, but I'm looking for something that at least says grass-fed. How do you know it's really grass-fed? I think you have to talk to the butcher. You have to go to the butcher and say, where do you get this from? Where are the farms you're sourcing this from? And grass-fed meat is gonna look different depending on the cow. There's quite a lot of fat on that steak, but let's compare it to a grain-fed steak. Grain-finished, USDA Choice Angus, 100% grass-fed. The grass-fed steak is clearly a different color. When you compare the two, this steak is much redder and the fat is a little different color, but mostly I see it in the color of the meat. This steak just looks more vibrant. This matters. This is really how I think we intuit nutrient density. And you can see it across the shelves here. Look at the way the grain-finished USDA Choice steaks look and look at the grass-fed steaks. These are much more red. So I'm gonna get a ribeye, but most of what I get when I come in stores is ground beef. It's affordable, it's easy. I generally don't eat ribeyes every meal, despite what you guys think. I like skirt steak. I like sirloin flat. Sometimes I can find sirloin flat at Sprouts and it's really good. Maybe we'll test organic steaks from Sprouts versus grass-fed. Theoretically, if a cow is eating grass its whole life, it should be fine. It shouldn't be getting exposed to a lot of pesticides. What you'll note here is that this says organic and then it says grass-fed. That's probably an even better steak, but I'd be curious about, taste and texture, and maybe I'll compare those in a separate video. For now, I think it's totally fine just to look for 100% grass-fed steaks, and I like the grass-fed ground beef. That's a standby whenever I come to Sprouts. In case you're really on a budget, a whole brisket for $5.49 a pound. So got 19 pounds. It's not grass-fed, but it's $5 a pound. Whole Foods doesn't have that. So you see here, Whole Foods has grass-fed beef, but then they have pasture-raised beef. And that pasture-raised beef is not grass-finished. It's confusing, right? It's like all of this over here is pasture-raised, started on grass, finished on grain. So Whole Foods is a little sketchy like this. I don't love that they're a little misleading with their marketing around this. If it's grass-fed, it's grass-fed, but understand that the pasture-raised beef at Whole Foods is finished on grain for sure. They've got grass-fed ground beef, 85.15. I don't fear fat. The fattier the ground beef, the better it tastes. And they have regular ground beef, and again, you can see there's a real color difference there. The grass-fed ground beef just looks more red. It looks better. This looks a little grayish. There's no question, even just in the way the meat looks, the grass-fed beef is gonna be better. That's crazy. You can get 2 pounds of grass-fed ground beef at Sprouts for $5. In terms of savings, I think Sprouts is even better than Costco. And yes, I said the C word, but I think Sprouts crushes Costco. So look at that. I'm gonna get 2 pounds of grass-fed ground beef for $5. That's wild. So one of the things that I like about Whole Foods more than Sprouts is that Whole Foods usually sells air-chilled chicken. Okay, so I'm at Whole Foods. I want to show you how the chicken here is different. Premium air-chilled chicken, no retained water. That's what you want with chicken. Sprouts doesn't do it, but Whole Foods does it. So Whole Foods gets a win here. Sprouts gets a win in a bunch of other categories. So if you want chicken, which I don't eat much of it anyway, you want an air-chilled chicken because the retained water in the chicken is from a chlorine bath. And so 5-7% retained water means you're eating chicken with a bunch of chlorine and other disinfectants in it in your chicken. That's gross. Don't sleep on the freezer section. We've often got some really good stuff here. Force of Nature, I love this company. 100% grass-fed bison ribeye. So it's very lean, but the quality of that meat is insane. You can look at this. Look at this bison tenderloin. Look at the color of that. 38 grams of protein and 6 ounces of meat. It's a very lean piece of meat. It's very high protein. And it's kind of cool to mix up your meat every once in a while. So Sprouts has some gems in the freezer section, especially this Force of Nature stuff. They've got some organic 8515 grass-fed beef here. They've got some Thomas Farms Wagyu beef burgers. Not grass-fed as far as I can tell, but that would be very decadent. They have grass-fed liver. This is awesome because I think getting a little bit of liver every day is a huge thing for humans. Even a half ounce or a quarter of an ounce every day is like a little bit of a multivitamin. And if you don't want to eat liver, you don't want to cook this because it smells kind of funny, I've got a huge solution for you because Heart and Soil just came to 450 Sprouts all across the country. I'll show you the Heart and Soil stuff here, which is desiccated liver capsules in a minute, but you can get this grass-fed beef liver if you want, or Heart and Soil capsules are easier for a lot of people, but do what works for you. When it comes to shellfish, the quality of the water they're in matters a lot, guys. Unfortunately, look, I used to love shrimp growing up. I remember I went to an Asian restaurant when I was a kid. The waiter comes to the table and he says, "What do you guys want?" I just took my fork and my knife and I said, "We want shrimp." I used to love shrimp when I was a kid, and I don't eat it anymore. I don't eat any shellfish anymore. In fact, I don't eat seafood anymore. And I know some of you guys will lose your mind. It's just very high in heavy metals. It's okay to eat seafood, but if you're going to eat seafood, you must check your heavy metals. You must check lead, mercury, cadmium, and arsenic. And I think you're going to be disappointed in what you find. A lot of the shellfish is pretty high in cadmium. You can see over here, they've got a bunch of frozen fish. What's better than that? Except it's pretty high in cadmium. And this is interesting to note also. Farm-raised Atlantic salmon. All Atlantic salmon is farm-raised. Even if it says Faroe Islands, that is farm-raised salmon. That's just the bougie farm-raised salmon. This is wild-caught Alaskan sockeye salmon, Alaskan pink salmon. Those are not farm-raised, which is generally better. Because farm-raised fish is very high in things like PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls. But even eating salmon, you will push your mercury levels. If I were stranded on a desert island, I would eat the fish I could catch. But I think that probably a wild salmon is good. There are also some operations like Seatopia that are doing better farm-raised fish now. I don't have any affiliation with them. Something like that is probably what I would do in terms of fish, but I just don't do it. I feel like there are no nutrients in fish that I can't get in grass-fed beef, including omega-3s. I think that grass-fed beef, especially reasonably fatty grass-fed beef, has all the omega-3s you need in your diet. So in terms of meat, I'm thinking about red meat. That's how I do it. I feel best with that. Let's go get some fruit. Remember, though, that a lot of things you think of as vegetables are actually fruit. Tomatoes are fruit. Squash is a fruit. Avocado is a fruit. Cucumber is a fruit. All of your favorite vegetables are probably fruit. Organic avocados, great, love them. Avocados are fruit, guys. Did you know that I can juggle? Yes, this is what I learned. Not that great. I learned to juggle in college, my freshman year of college, to see how I can do, maybe do better. Oh, I'll buy the avocados, guys, don't worry. Why do I make the distinction between fruit and vegetables? Fruit is much lower in defense chemicals. I have an immune system that is exquisitely sensitive. I've had it my whole life. I had eczema, I had asthma as a kid. My immune system is just messed up. A lot of these vegetables bother my immune system. So when I eat things like tomatoes, which are a fruit, I get eczema, and I don't want to trigger my immune system. I eat chocolate, eczema. Too much broccoli, eczema. I feel better without vegetables. Just like meat, the redder the apple, the better. I don't know if you guys know this. Regular Fuji apple, 4131. So that's going to have pesticides on it. So this hand has pesticides. I'm not going to die, but you know, organic Fuji apple, 94131. You can always tell if something is organic because it has a 9 in front of it. And of course, Sprouts puts this little green thing here that says organic. All right, guys, I've been loving orange juice. So I'm going to try and find some oranges, some organic oranges. Let's see what we got. That's sad. There's nothing here. No. Well, we're going to keep going. This is maybe one thing that I don't like about Sprouts is they go out of stock. Maybe Whole Foods would have had it. I'm going to drown my sorrows in the squash section and show you guys my favorite type of squash. If you guys do well with sweet potato or potato, great. I don't do well with those, you know? White potato is a nightshade, just like tomato, eggplant, peppers. And those definitely tend to trigger people's immune systems. I know that when I eat foods that are nightshades, my eczema gets worse. So if you can eat those foods, I'm jealous, because between tomatoes, eggplant, bell peppers, especially red or orange bell peppers, those are some of the most delicious foods and they trigger my immune system, so that makes me kind of mad. Vegetables definitely have more defense chemicals than fruit. As fruit ripens, the defense chemicals go down. I think some of us, not everyone, some of us are uniquely sensitive to the defense chemicals in vegetables, and eliminating those can improve gut issues, IBS, for some people even IBD like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. Are you listening, Mr. Beast? I commented on one of your posts today and I said animal-based might help you with your Crohn's. I'm here for you, Mr. Beast. Even foods that might qualify as food for humans are not great for everyone. We're all individual in terms of our immune systems. This is my favorite type of squash. I can only get it in the United States. This is a kabocha squash, and this is the best way that I've found to get sort of more complex carbohydrates. If I want carbohydrates from fruit, great, easy, not as much fiber. I don't really focus on fiber that much, but I feel probably better with a little bit of fiber in my diet now. And squash is the best way to do it. I cook it in the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on the size of the squash, 400, 450 degrees. Then I scoop the inside of the squash out. I mix it with salt and some butter, preferably organic, grass-fed, maybe raw butter. That's good stuff. When it comes to berries, I really feel like it is worthwhile to invest in organic berries, especially strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, cherries. These are some of the most sprayed foods out there, and grapes. So if you can avoid getting conventional berries, get organic, you're gonna have significantly less pesticides in your diet if you just switch to organic berries. So I see something over here that I'm really excited to show you guys about. Check this out. Ta-da, this is a big deal, guys. Heart and Soil is now in Sprouts. 450 locations of Sprouts across the country. You can get histamine and immune. I kind of need this one right now in Texas. I've been sneezing. You get Pure American Liver. I'm really proud of that one. That is 100% grass-fed liver from US-based regenerative farms. Grass-fed colostrum. We looked so hard. This is the best colostrum on the market. I'll do a whole video about colostrum in the future, but colostrum is, there's a sketchy market in colostrum. A lot of colostrum is just dried powdered milk. We tested this for immunoglobulins, and this had the highest amount of active immunoglobulins. Anything we tested, 43% plus or minus by ELISA. So our grass-fed colostrum is incredibly high quality. Beef organs is the standby. It is the ultimate multivitamin. Heart, liver, kidney, spleen, and pancreas. So you've got frozen liver over there if you want fresh, which is amazing. But if you don't want to taste your liver, if you don't want to eat the liver, check out the Heart and Soil stuff now at Sprouts all over the country. I'm really proud of what we got here, guys. Stoked to see it. I hope it helps a lot of people get organs in their diet. All right, guys, let's go check out some eggs. I'm going to show you something about eggs that's going to blow your mind. You want pasture raised over cage free. Pasture raised, you get legally, they have to have 106 square feet per chicken. So they're outside, and there's a higher chance that chickens are eating bugs and worms, which is what chickens are meant to eat. Chickens are not meant to be vegetarian. A lot of these eggs will say vegetarian feed, and that's just kind of silly. You don't want your chickens to be vegetarian. The healthiest eggs come from chickens that eat bugs and worms. In fact, I recently came across eggs at a local butcher shop here in Austin that are semi-carnivorous. The chickens eat venison carcasses, which is amazing. So I think those are the best eggs I'm ever going to eat, the omnivorous eggs. Chickens are meant to eat meat, just they don't get it very often. They're like little dinosaurs, guys. At Sprouts, I think something like this, an organic pasture-raised egg is the best you're going to get. It's organic, it's pasture-raised, and chickens are outside. There's a higher chance they're going to eat more bugs and worms. You want to drill down even further into the egg rabbit hole on the back of the package, and you can see where the eggs come from. You see where right here where it says packed by Texas license number 060793. Okay, so that is one farm that is packing eggs. What you'll find is that even though it looks like there's lots of different types of eggs here, there's only a few different producers of eggs. You're going to find the same producer for a lot of these different eggs if you look on the back of those packages. That's that one from Vital Farms, which is probably a unique one. Let's see where the Sprouts organic pasture-raised eggs are. You can see here 108 square feet of outdoor space. And you see here they say vegetarian fed. Texas license number 0510873 or Texas license 0739438. So those are the two different farms. That's important because a lot of them are from the same farm and they can be different prices from the exact same farm. So let's contrast the pasture raised with free range and cage free. Free range chickens get a little bit of time outside, but they don't get as much space as a pasture raised chicken, almost no space. Cage free means they're indoors all the time. They're getting zero bugs and worms. So I would never do cage free. I actually don't really like free range, even if it's organic, because they're not outside much. But another thing to consider is that some eggs are also soy free and corn free. That's cool. But look, these are free range, so they don't get a lot of time outside. So it's kind of a balance. I would love to have a soy and corn-free egg because it's going to have less linoleic acid in the yolk, but it's very rare that I see organic, pasture-raised, soy and corn-free. My hope is that most of the pasture-raised organic eggs are outside enough that they don't have to eat a ton of the corn and soy from the grains. Butter at Sprouts, I'm looking for organic, pasture-raised, or grass-fed. So I like unsalted because I like to put my own salt in it. Nancy's organic butter made with milk from pasture-raised cows. Looks pretty good to me. You've got some Organic Valley, classic unsalted butter made with pasture-raised cream. You've got Maple Hill, 100% grass-fed organic unsalted butter. I think any of those would be a good choice for a butter. The one thing I'd look out for is that Kerrygold got in trouble a while ago. Some of their packaging had PFAs, and that's going to go into the butter. You do not want plastic or plastic-lined paper going into any contact with fat, because that's going to transit some of those plastic chemicals into the fat. I'm going to want my butter to be wrapped in paper, and these are better from that perspective. Let's talk about milk and dairy a little bit. So my friends at Raw Farm used to have their pet kefir here at Sprouts. I think they pulled it off the shelves. We'll see. The Supernatural Kelowna organic whole milk plain kefir is not bad. Grass-fed cows, regenerative farms, no sugar added, organic. If I'm going to get a milk or a kefir that's pasteurized, a low temperature pasteurization might be better. I would prefer raw, and the reason I like raw milk is because it just feels better for me. It digests better for me. It's mostly anecdotal, although there are multiple trials showing that kids who grew up on or off farms drinking raw versus pasteurized milk have lower rates of asthma, eczema, and allergies. I have asthma, eczema, and allergies. There are actually exosomes. So these are membrane-bound vesicles that our cells secrete. They're associated with stem cells. It's probably part of the value of stem cells is the exosomes those stem cells secrete. And there are exosomes in milk. The value of these proteins and the peptides, the microRNAs and the exosomes appear to cross species. So this is a theoretical reason that drinking raw milk with more intact exosomes could be healthier for humans than a pasteurized milk, which is almost certainly going to destroy some of those milk-derived exosomes. I'm passing by the Silk and the Oatly, and I'm just not even looking at it. I don't know if you guys saw, there was recently an outbreak of, I think it was listeria connected with Silk products in Canada, and it sickened a lot of people. So raw milk gets a bad rap, but even this kind of stuff can be a problem for people. It seems that people tolerate A2 milk the best. This Alexander Farm A2, I would always get a whole milk. The idea here is that is an isoform of the casein protein in milk. If you can't find raw milk, A2 milk seems to work for some people in terms of digestibility and response to the immune system. Even for some people, drinking an A2 raw milk is better than drinking an A1, raw milk. So think about that. And the other thing to realize is that all goat's milk, all buffalo milk, all camel's milk, all milk from anything except cows is all A2. And if you're getting A2 milk from a cow, it's going to be from a Jersey or a Guernsey cow. So that's what I'm always looking for is an A2 milk, and preferably raw. That's a great shirt you got there. Where do I get a shirt like that?
Oh, I got it years ago.
Years ago? That's a good one. All right, so you guys might not know this, but mainstream milk actually contains a little bit of seed oils. The vitamins A and D that are added to milk are packaged in seed oils. It's not a ton, but it's something to be aware of that, let's see here, right there, that vitamin A palmitate, vitamin D3 that you'll see on regular milks, they use a seed oil as the carrier for that. So even your milk might have a little bit of seed oils in it. It's not a ton, but seed oils are sneaking into everything. Don't fall for it, guys. Every time I walk by the meat sticks, I get a little bit of like, ugh. When you pull these meat sticks out of the package, it looks like a hot dog. It's gross. This isn't the way a meat stick is supposed to taste. I'm really proud of what we made at Lineage. If you look at our meat sticks compared to these meat sticks, this shouldn't even be called a meat stick. This is just like a fancy version of a hot dog. I wanted to make something better than this, and I think we really achieved it. So if you guys haven't seen our meat sticks at Lineage, they're gonna blow you away. Eventually, we will get Lineage meat sticks into Sprouts in their grocery stores, and all of this will be irrelevant. Stay tuned for that. I would be remiss if I didn't show you guys this. Did you know that ice cream can be a health food? Yes, I really appreciate Ice Cream for Bears. I mean, like, I have no affiliation with these guys, but it's the best ice cream I've ever seen in a grocery store. Sweetened only with raw honey. I think there's a big difference in the way that processed sugar and raw honey affect the human gut. I think the reason that processed sugar is bad for us is not necessarily because it raises our blood sugar, but because it messes with our gut flora. It causes overgrowth of the wrong bacteria, causes dysbiosis, which leads to increased lipopolysaccharide in the human body. Look at the ingredients here, guys. Milk, cream, raw honey, skim milk, and egg yolk. These guys are doing a great job, and I think that I hope that you understand that like this ice cream versus everything else is a way different thing to feed yourself and your kids and your family. I wouldn't even feel bad like feeding this quality ice cream to my niece and nephew, but I wouldn't want them to have processed sugar. So if your kids are just crazy about ice cream, check this one out. I really appreciate what they're doing. Sprouts has a pretty good cheese section. I kind of feel like Whole Foods is a little better. I like raw cheese. You can't really get young raw cheese just because of the limitations, but older raw cheeses are doable. And I know they have some raw cheese over here. Let me see if I can find it. Any Parmigiano Reggiano is going to be a raw cheese. And this one says it's organic, grass-fed. Parmigiano Reggiano is kind of a hack, guys. It's also like a protein bar. I mean, there's a lot of protein in Parmigiano Reggiano. Look at this. 9 grams of protein in 1 ounce of cheese. That much cheese right there. There's 9 grams of protein in that. Stay tuned. We're coming out with a protein bar from Lineage. It's gonna crush. Gruyere is also a raw cheese. And this Cavern, cave-aged, 11 months. That's like their highest quality Gruyere. Gruyere has like a strong kind of footy smell. In order to make Gruyere cheese, it's usually raw, but it says cow's milk, not pasteurized cow's milk. And as you can see here, some of the companies are also advertising A2. So this Skytop A2 Organics, it's the same kind of thing. If you don't tolerate cheese well, think about getting a cheese that's an A2 cheese and seeing how you do with that one versus an A1, A2 cheese. Think about the casein isoform. This is probably not a raw cheese. Yes, organic pasteurized milk. But remember, if you're getting a raw goat cheese, that is an A2 cheese because all goat's milk, all goat cheese is all A2 casein isoform. I wonder if this is from something like Jersey and Guernsey cows and if this is A1, A2 or purely A2. But this is probably one of the reasons that I feel best eating mostly goat cheese or buffalo cheese rather than cow cheese. But if I can find A2 cow cheese, that'd be good. So a little technical there, but hopefully that's helpful for you guys. If content like that on A2 milk and A2 cheese, what type of dairy you can eat is helpful, check out my newsletter, guys. I do a free newsletter every week on Sundays. I'll put a link here and in the description. I go deep on the newsletter. It's a fun place where I get to kind of do a bunch of research. I've done newsletters on cholesterol, why you don't have to fear that. I've done newsletters on controversial topics like Tylenol and autism, where I can give you my real unbiased, uncensored take. There's a lot of value in the newsletter. Check it out. Every Sunday, I'll put a link here. Free newsletter. Lots of good stuff in there that'll really level up your health and get you really dialed in. Raw goat cheese going in the cart, and we're looking pretty good. The last thing I'm thinking about getting is some more olives. I love this, organic olives. I don't love they're in plastic, but you can't win everything. I bet I can find some organic olives in glass. I might go over there and get them in a second, but I just want to let you guys know that olives are another thing that's a fruit, food for humans, single ingredient foods, foods with labels your great grandmother would recognize. That's what matters. If eating that way still doesn't fix your issues, think about animal-based. Meat, organs, fruit, honey, raw dairy. I eat animal-based. So what do I have in the cart? I've got organic pasture-raised eggs. I got some kabocha squash. Remember, kabocha is a fruit. Apples, olives, blueberries. Most importantly, I've got grass-fed ground beef, grass-fed steak. I got some A2 casein raw goat cheese, and I got some organic strawberries and an organic avocado, trying to minimize the pesticides. I think Sprouts is a great place. I think Whole Foods is better at some things, and Sprouts does some things better. Overall, I'm usually choosing Sprouts over Whole Foods Maybe it's just my Amazon bias or my anti-Amazon bias, but the reason I show you what I buy is just to give you a sense of how you might structure your grocery haul. You don't have to eat just like me, but this is how I would shop animal-based at Sprouts, especially when I'm traveling. And you can get almost everything that you need for an animal-based diet that's just like I would eat at Sprouts. The one thing we're missing here is some raw milk, but I know exactly where to find that in Austin at Sapien Center, my buddy's place. Hopefully that's helpful in terms of the Sprouts grocery haul. Check out Heart and Soil at Sprouts now. Let your friends know about that, because now you can get organs, gut and digestion, histamine and immune, beef organs, grass-fed liver, grass-fed colostrum at Sprouts all over the place. I'm so stoked that our organs at Heart and Soil, which are the highest quality we could find on the planet in capsule form, are available everywhere. I will see you guys in the next video.